Warning, this video contains major spoilers for the 15th to 20th century. You have been warned. Whoa, hold your Turkmenian horses. To understand, we need to do some learning. Based on the shared motives of any nation in history, we know that the Ottoman Empire's main goal was to thrive. To thrive, a nation needs resources, things like population, wealth, land, military, etc., to stay advanced. Resources equal ability to thrive. By 1571, the Ottoman Empire had certainly attained its resources. West of Anatolia, 1453, the Ottomans began their rise to power by invading the holy city of Constantinople. Throughout the 16th century, they went on to conquer parts of North Africa, Hungary, and Asia, as well as the Balkans. Unquestionably, these invasions would have been motivated by resources, but was also likely seen as a chance to prove Sunni Islam's superiority over Catholicism, Europe's dominant faith at the time. With their powerful religion and resources, the Ottoman Empire was filled with Muslim nationalism, and had become one of the most powerful forces in the world. However, their conquest had created an enemy, a little-known group you may not have heard of called Europe. Well, most of Europe. Countries who had been invaded by the Ottomans, like France, Russia and Britain, and other Catholic nations, were becoming scared of the Ottomans' imperialistic advances. This is why, from 1826 to 1913, the Ottoman Empire was destroyed through war. When the Ottoman Empire dissolved, it was like the average game of Rob the Nest, where the winner gets away with stealing everyone's balls until they get so many balls that the Ottoman Empire lost all of their African and European land, which was captured by countries like Russia, France, and especially Britain, who desperately needed Northern Africa on top of their roughly 85 colonies. The grand finale was in 1913, when rising Balkan nationalism inside of the Ottoman Empire ignited the Balkan Wars. The Balkans won the first and second of these wars, resulting in the Ottoman Empire being pushed back into just Anatolia. It cannot be overstated how enormous of a loss this was for the Ottoman Empire. Remember our formula, resources equal the ability to thrive. Time to add a new formula. Deficient resources equals the late Ottoman Empire, called the sick man of Europe. The average Ottoman Turk now lived in a nation of anarchy and poverty, probably thinking, wow, we are going to die. Unless World War I begins. The Triple Entente is putting full aggression on the Triple Alliance. The Ottoman Empire was neutral to begin with, however they quickly realised they needed to pick a side. If they chose correctly, the Ottoman Empire might receive enough resources to start rebuilding the empire to its original glory. Perhaps they could even reinstill Muslim nationalism and improve the lives of all Ottoman Turks. From this, we can draw a conclusion. The Ottoman Empire fought in World War I because they were self-dissolving and needed an ally's resources to survive. Still, this isn't much of an answer. We must extend our answer and analyse the impacts of the Ottoman Empire joining World War I to gain a better comprehension of our answer. It's time to play the hit TV game, Guess Who Will Win World War I? And the Ottoman Empire chooses Germany. Oh no. Germany and the Ottoman Empire became allies on August 7th, 1914, a month after World War I started. To the Ottoman Empire, Germany was their chance for survival. To Germany, the Ottoman Empire was a diversion tool. The Ottoman Empire followed Germany's simple order of help the Triple Alliance by employing three chief military strategies: intervening directly in Europe by attacking the Balkans, drawing the Triple Entente away from Europe, and creating Muslim nationalism. How did these military strategies impact the Ottoman society? Number 1. Intervention and diversion. These two strategies required the Ottoman Empire to build their mobility and militarism for an entire year. That's how far behind they were. Old Turkish men, aged 20 to 45, were conscripted to form a 3 million soldier army. While this number was decent, exceeding Britain's 700,000 men, practically none of their soldiers were well educated. As a result, a vast majority of Turkish soldiers were poorly trained, a fact which did not complement the harsh expectations set by the Ottoman military. Soldiers were expected to serve their generals obediently and without reasoning. If a Turkish soldier was shot or wounded, it was practically a death sentence. Another trouble for the Ottoman soldiers was that the empire was not developed at building railroads, meaning not only were the troops slow to war, it was impossible for them to contact loved ones in the Ottoman home front, which would certainly have dampened their spirit. Meanwhile, to support the Ottoman Empire's growing militarism, women worked in agriculture and manual labour in the Ottoman home front. For this reason, agriculture became a serious problem for the Ottoman Empire by 1915. The Ottoman Empire was already behind in the field of agriculture due to their lack of resources, so a great famine struck the Ottoman home front. By 1918, 80,000 Ottomans had starved to death and the famine train was not slowing. Method 2. Spawning Muslim nationalism. As discussed earlier, the Ottoman Empire was strongest when it had strong Muslim nationalism. So what was the Ottoman government's rational plan to regain Muslim nationalism? Commit genocide, of course! In the 1915 Armenian genocide, all Catholic traces were purged, placing the past conflicts between Sunni Islam and Catholicism into the war. Today, the Turkish government dissociates themselves with the Armenian genocide, but regardless, around 1.5 million people were slaughtered in that tragedy. Despite this, there is no real evidence of Muslim nationalism rising afterwards. In conclusion, joining World War I was a major turning point in Ottoman history. Fighting in the war offered growth, however, the Ottoman Empire put so much focus on the cause that they regressed. The home front suffered from anarchy and starvation, while Ottoman soldiers fought not just ruthless conditions, but also equally determined opponents. The Ottoman Empire fighting in World War I was also a major turning point for the Triple Entente, namely Britain and Russia. If these countries did not hate the Ottomans before, they despised them now. On top of Germany and Austria-Hungary, there was now a genuine threat coming from the east. Therefore, Britain tasked Australia with invading Anatolia to help Russia. Australia's motives in World War I is a great comparison to the Ottoman empires. They were both small countries who fought for independence, were brought in by another country as aid, and the women of their home fronts turned to labour and agriculture. The differences were that Australia was not nearly in as poor of a position as the Ottoman Empire was. Anzacs were well trained in Egypt. The Australian home front was not starving or in chaos, and, believe it or not, they were not leading a violent Muslim nationalism campaign. Another key difference was that, instead of a conscription, Australian soldiers were persuaded to join the war through propaganda. To link it back to earlier, Australia had resources, the Ottoman Empire did not. I'll not delve into their battles much, but the 1950 Battle of Gallipoli between the Anzacs and the Ottomans was ruthless. This is what happens when two countries both fighting for independence clash. For the 8 months that the two sides fought each other resulted in a stalemate, where neither could break each other's defense. Keep in mind, the Ottomans did this with all of the aforementioned handicaps, which is a scary thought for all you Triple Entente enthusiasts. When the conditions became so horrible that it was not worth the battle, the Anzacs retreated, leaving a considerable mark on the Ottomans. The result of Gallipoli was that Australia was recognised more as a country than a state for their efforts by countries like Britain. Meanwhile, the Ottoman Empire lost even more resources and was seen with further hatred by most of Europe. In summary, the Ottoman Empire entering World War I was a major event that did not just impact them, it also impacted everyone else fighting in World War I. It forced the Triple Entente to change their strategy, which provided Australia the chance to be recognised more so as a country than a state. Furthermore, the Ottoman Empire became absolutely despised. Good job, guys. Go sit in the naughty corner, you outcasts. And keep losing resources while you're at it. So, finally, we can answer with great knowledge of the question. In conclusion, the Ottoman Empire joined World War I because they were a crumbling nation, the sick man of Europe. They needed resources from an ally to rebuild themselves during World War I, otherwise they would dissolve. This is why the Ottoman Empire allied with Germany in 1914, which led to an enormous turning point in the war when they joined in 1915. What resulted was the Ottoman Empire becoming too focused on militarism, and they regressed as an empire in the home front. Their wars with countries such as Australia validated their enemies' independence, but made theirs even more unlikely. Today, the efforts of the Ottoman Empire in World War I are commemorated and respected by the Turkish people, especially for their efforts in Gallipoli, likewise with Australia. I'll finish this video off with a quote from Mehmed II, the most famous Ottoman conqueror, that I thought was interesting and it might inspire you. "It is wise to learn your enemies, but it is even wiser to give Kobe an A+ for this assessment."